Yeah.
Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel, and I'm wishing all of you who celebrate in America a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Of course, today I had to make sure I came in with the best presentation possible, with a clean shave, for this movie specifically. For those who've seen it, you know exactly what I mean. And today I'm going to be talking about the sophomore feature from Emerald Fennell, Saltburn, starring Barry Keoghan, Jacob Elordi, Rosamund Pike, Richard E. Grant, Allison Oliver, Archie Madekwe, and Carey Mulligan. Now, this film, obviously, very, very much something I was looking forward to. For those of you who don't know, Promising Young Woman was one of my top 3 films of 2020. Without a question, the best written film from that year. And I was just amazed at her talent as a writer and a director both, and I was really excited to see what she would do with her follow-up, because is she going to have the sophomore slump, you could say? This was a question that was on a lot of people's minds, but you look at the cast involved, you look at the people behind the camera, especially Linus Sandrin, the Academy Award-winning cinematographer for one of my favorite movies, La La Land, and it really doesn't raise too many red flags, because you're like, okay, like, this seems like this is being put together by many, many creative and talented people that have proven themselves time and time again. And I'll be honest, for the first, I'd say, quarter of this movie, I was absolutely loving it, especially the stuff at Oxford, because obviously this follows the character of Oliver Quick as he develops this kind of relationship with this other student named Felix, who's played by Jacob Elordi, and it kind of chronicles him coming to visit his family's estate for the summer, being Saltburn, and the goings on in that gigantic castle. And yet again, this is a film that is very bold in a lot of ways. But back to the first part of the movie, I really loved them developing their friendship more than anything between Barry Keoghan and Jacob Elordi's characters of Oliver and Felix respectively. And I think that Jacob Elordi proves time and time again, I mean recently just with Priscilla, but here he proves why he's one of the most talented actors of his generation, and one of the best looking guys to ever walk onto a film set, let's be honest, because there's an irresistible charm to the way he plays Felix. He's so charismatic, he's so outgoing, he's so welcoming for the most part, and it's easy to see why anyone would fall for this guy, including Oliver here, played by Barry Keoghan, who is, I mean, a lot of people have said this is a brave performance, and I think that might be an apt term for his portrayal here, which goes in so many directions I wasn't quite expecting. And to talk about the rest of the cast too, we have to mention Rosamund Pike, whose deadpan delivery for a good portion of this movie is absolutely spot on. I love what she does, and of course Richard E. Grant, another Academy Award nominee, along with Rosamund Pike and Barry Keoghan, is really great in the scenes that he has. But to me, one of the real standouts in this movie was Archie Madekwe, who we just recently saw in Gran Turismo, and that guy's got range, because he's shown us that he can play this very, very focused race car driver, British race car driver, and then convince us he's a queer American man. So this guy really is so phenomenal. I think really gets to show how much range he has as an actor in this, and I think maybe the most standout supporting turn in this cast. As much as I do appreciate Rosamund Pike's performance in this, I don't see why many people are calling her to get nominated for an Oscar. I don't think it's going to happen, and I do not see it at all. But Allison Oliver, who plays the sister of Felix in this, is truly phenomenal. I mean, she gets one really, really amazing scene near the end of this film that really sold me on her acting. But throughout the entirety of the movie, some of the stuff that she has to go through and portray through her face and through her body movement is really, really quite stunning work. And I really, really loved her in this movie as well. And of course, I have to talk about the cinematography here. My goodness, Linus Sandrin once again delivers in what I think is one of the best shot films of the year. I hope this gets a cinematography nomination. There's so many amazing shots here, and I just love the film grain. I believe this was shot on film because I haven't looked it up, but it certainly looks that way. And just the way he captures the openness, the vastness, the luxuriousness of Saltburn itself on the estate is truly something to be commended. But there's so many amazing shots in this movie where Barry Keoghan is like mirrored in the frame, and yet it's so symmetrical, and yet kind of like off-putting, but in a good way. It's unlike any movie I have ever seen, I'll be quite honest. But on that same note, a lot of people have said that this film has reminded them of many great other films, one of them being The Talented Mr. Ripley. So I hope for those of you who've seen that film, this doesn't give away the story, because I have yet to see The Talented Mr. Ripley, and I was kind of concerned that it was going to spoil it for me as well. And to be honest with you, I walked out of the theater a bit dumbfounded. I literally did not know what to think. I was like, did I love this movie? Did I like this movie? Did I not like this movie? It is a very polarizing film, and I think for many, many good reasons. But yet again, there's so much in this film that works from a technical standpoint. Even the dialogue is great. There's so many things that I think really prop this up, and I think elevated above, something like Triangle of Sadness, which had no structure whatsoever. This film obviously has a point, and it has a very well self-contained story within that structure. But that doesn't mean everything about this movie works, right? And I think that where I really fell down on this film, the more I thought about it, because look, I mean, Oliver is such an interesting character, and I think that stuff with him for the most part works. There's one scene near the end of this film. As bold as some of the choices that Emerald Fennell makes in portraying this character, there is one that I think is absolutely unnecessary, and if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I mean. It goes a little bit too far in a couple of places, and that was one thing I respect the vision. I respect that she was trying to be provocative, but I don't necessarily think that makes up for the entirety of this film. There's one scene that I think is going to have people going crazy, but as disturbing as it was, I kind of appreciated it, because that made more sense than what happens later. But to me, the more I thought about this film, the less sound I felt about it making much sense. And I think that's this film's biggest detriment, because really when the ending of this film happens, this is what's really going to divide a lot of people, myself included, because while I enjoyed watching it, there's so many things that do not make sense at all, and so many logistical plot holes you could poke your fingers into and kind of question the veracity of this narrative at hand. And yeah, I get, once again, I get what she was going for. I appreciate thematically what that means, but also at the same time, I'm a bit conflicted about it, because what is this really saying? Because obviously Triangle Sadness made it very apparent what it was trying to say about the rich. But yet again, like, there's some great humor in regards to what these people do and how they interact in their day-to-day lives. But you really kind of feel bad for them. Like, not to give too much away, but you kind of think that these people didn't deserve a lot of what they had to deal with. And that, to me, is kind of where I fall down on this. Because, like, what is the point that Emerald Fennell is really trying to make? I think that there are great scenes, great ideas throughout the entirety of this film, but I just think it doesn't fully come together at the end, because I really would have been much more positive on this film had the ending been elaborated on, and had she taken a different approach, and if she hadn't spelled a lot out, because at first I didn't mind, but then I thought about it, you only really needed to spell out a couple of things, I think, for this narrative to be as impactful as it is. And I think, you know, Emerald Fennell is a smart enough director that I don't really think that she should be spoon-feeding her audience. I don't. And yet again, being spoon-fed is one thing, but do you have the story to back that up? And in some points, she does not. But yet again, at the center of this film, it does have a lot to say about class and social mobility, which I find very interesting. It's a very intriguing character study. At the very least, I don't think anybody can say this film isn't interesting at all. And yeah, I mean, I appreciate it for what it is, but no, this doesn't hold a candle to Promising Young Woman. This isn't one of my favorite movies of the year or anything, but I think for the most part, this film works more than it doesn't. So on that note, I'm going to give Saltburn a 7 out of 10. Definitely a film I actually would watch again in the future, but not one that I find is going to improve that much for me, just because there's a lot of things that really don't add up. And yet again, for an ending as calculated and as powerful as the end of Promising Young Woman was, I figured that she would have come up with something a bit tighter and smarter. And this film used a very interesting framing device too, which I won't get into. And also, I have to mention Carey Mulligan is great in a couple scenes as Poor Dear Pamela, as she's called in the film. And yeah, overall, this is a good watch. You should definitely check it out. But don't expect anything entirely original. But expect, from a technical standpoint, for this film to be dazzling. You're going to love the performances in this. I mean, everything is executed from a technical standpoint top notch. I just wish that she had dived a little bit more and that there wasn't as much to be desired with this particular narrative. So yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on Saltburn. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and smash the like button if you're liking this video, and if you're tuning into the channel for the first time, please hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate the support. Going to be reviewing Napoleon next, so expect that review to be out tomorrow. And yeah, of course, I am going to see Wish this weekend. I know I'm a little behind on it, but come on, there's like, how many movies that come out in one weekend? So I'm going to see Wish. I've seen all the other animated Disney films from Disney Animated Studios, so I gotta go see this one. But yeah, stay on the lookout for those reviews, and once again, have a very, very happy holiday and a very happy Thanksgiving. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.